Hey everybody, welcome back to another week of the Nightwing news. I am Phil. Kristen is here as always. We have some special guests. Well, Tyler from the Krypton Report.
Hello.
And of course, I know, you're all here for Tyler. But yes, we're also talking to Kyle Higgins, writer of all things Nightwing in the New 52 era. Hello, Kyle.
Hey, how are you guys?
Good. I'm super excited just saying that right now. Okay.
So you jumped over from a different show.
I was going to say you didn't do much with your wall decor.
That's the basement. Just is the basement. It is what it is.
But I feel like if you were really excited, you would have swapped all that, that super stuff out for some good Robin's Egg blue wing action.
Oh, nice.
I got the shirt on.
That's
I always do it wrong. The
name is Kryptonian synonymous. So
yeah.
It all works out actually.
It does.
It does work.
He's like Saturday Night Live. He's a little band section on the right over there.
Yeah.
So it's so nice to meet you all. I know Kristen, but I don't know if I have Tyler. You look familiar.
We were friends on
Did we do an
Facebook.
interview?
We were friends on Facebook and we chatted before years ago.
Okay. Yeah,
just a little bit. So
I got rid of my Facebook in like a year ago, and I'm in the midst of a Kickstarter campaign right now. And so our publicist was like, "Make sure you post this all on Facebook," like the day of the campaign launch. And I was like, "Yeah, I don't have a Facebook anymore." And he blew his mind. He's like, "Well, you better restart it."
Yeah, you did restart it because I saw your Kickstarter.
Well, don't worry.
Yeah, it's much to my mother's immense joy that I am back on Facebook. Because for the last year, she's like, "Oh, I tagged you in something on Facebook." I was like, "No, I don't have Facebook anymore." She's like, "Oh, did you see what so and so posted on Facebook? Did you see it?" I was like, "No, I don't. I wouldn't. Even if I was on Facebook, I would not have seen what so and so."
That's why everybody quit once everybody's mom got on.
But yeah, I'll put it Kickstarter and everything when we post this episode.
Oh, thank you.
I ride the middle line. See, I have my Facebook, but I just got rid of my Facebook app, so I'm not ever on it anymore. I only used it through for the podcast stuff because I just got tired of it, but I didn't want to delete it because I've had it since 2004.
See, I have no self-control in that regard. I'm either all in or not in at all. So if I have it, it's like I can delete apps off my phone, but then I'll just inevitably in a moment of weakness, load up Safari on my phone and just go to the browser login. And it's like, well, what? I've deleted Twitter off my phone so many times, and then I'll go for 4 months where I'm checking Twitter just as regularly, but through the browser. And somehow that makes me feel it's like, no, it's not the same. I don't have it on my phone. It's like, yeah, but you're still checking it literally the exact same amount.
So the whole social media thing, did you get rid of it just because it was time consuming or were people just being idiots?
Well, no, it's not the latter. There's two things. It's very addictive, and I do not like feeling. I have enough things in my life that I feel like I don't have control over, and requiring this constant I would be the world's worst drug addict because I would die, and I would overdose and die first night out. If my relationship with sugar and pizza is any indication, so I don't like having something where I feel like this almost borderline addictive necessity to constantly be checking. And the other thing too is I'm very much for as much as I like writing science fiction, there's a part of me that is a little bit of a Luddite, and I do miss the era. I have a landline here next to me, Now it's in
Oh my God,
1966.
you are like Dick
Yeah.
Grayson. Remember that one issue where he's like, "I'm 78. I have a landline." You didn't write that one though, did you?
Did I write it? I might have. That sounds like me.
I don't know. We'll have to look it back up. I remember
well,
that one.
Oh, look at that poster. Look at that poster.
So that,
Look at that poster on the wall. Look at
yeah,
that.
so
Oh,
I-
is that Superman?
First movie. Yeah.
I interned for Richard Donner, and
I
my
rem-
mentor was Tom Mankiewicz, who wrote Superman. And Tom gave me, I don't think it was this copy. I think I gave the one away to a friend of the copy that he gave me. But he had this poster in his closet for 30 years, and he gave it to me. And I bought a second one off eBay because I think the one he gave me had some holes in it or something. But anyway, I never had him sign it. And then when he passed away, about 10 years ago now, I reached back out to Donner's and I was like, hey, can we get Dick to sign this because he's getting old? And so you probably can't see it, but what it says is, Kyle, hope to sign your DGA card, Dick, and the Directors Guild of America. And
That's
the only way
awesome.
you get in is with a member who sponsors you, and so he's off. It's so cool of him. And
That
so
is
that's
cool.
that's in my little office here. And then, but the reason I'm holding my camera is because it's
It's a red phone.
a 60s bat phone. It lights up. It does the whole 9 yards. And actually, the Nightwing poster behind me, that is, well, Kristen, maybe you can. I'm sure you probably know what that is and what that's from. Let's see.
Is that the first one?
Well, it's the cover to the Dixon McDaniel.
Cover.
Yeah, Nightwing number one.
Yeah.
Number one, but it was like a limited, not limited. It was like a promotional poster that they sent out, that DC sent out to comic stores in like 95, 96, whenever that series. I think that series debuted in 96. And when I got the New 52 gig, I found that also on eBay, and I reached out to Chuck Dixon and Scott McDaniel, both of whom I had met before when I was very young, when I was like 14, 15. They were both very, very gracious and awesome to me with their time. And they both had me mail it to them, so they both signed it to me. So it's kind of like a passing of the torch.
That's awesome.
But it does make it a little weird when I do Zoom calls. I just did a Zoom. To be really careful what I say here. I just did a Zoom where it was. I did a Zoom where it was like. It was definitely the proverbial elephant, like in the room, like over my shoulder, where we had to acknowledge it at a certain point. And it was like, yes, but that's, and I told the story. So, yeah.
See, Kyle, I first became aware of like your writings and everything. I heard your interview years ago on Fat Man on Batman, and I heard you talk about like interning for Donner and Mankiewicz and everything. And it was after I heard you, like after that interview, I went and bought Gates of Gotham, and then sought out. I'm trying to remember. I think it was only the second year of the New 52, or technically first. It was like 2012, I think. And then I was like, and that's when I was like, okay, I went out and started reading the Nightwing then after hearing you talk on there.
Well, thank you for
Because
that was a fun one.
So yeah, speaking of New 52 Nightwing, that's what we're here to talk about. I wanted to ask.
Really?
Oh,
Really?
yes.
I'd rather talk about good Nightwing stories, but I guess we.
Well, you're.
Oh, ouch, dang.
I just reread the whole run, and trust me, you're one of the top stories in 52 to me.
If anyone's,
that's like saying that was the best. That was the best book of the Heroes Reborn line.
Oh no!
That's how I feel.
A lot of New 52 wasn't my cup of tea, but I liked your stuff. You're up there with like Scott Snyder's Batman to me in that era.
Those two, and Scott Snyder had the best, I think, take reinvention runs in the New 52. Green Lantern kind of just felt like it was the same, continue on with a few tweaks. Even as a big Superman fan, I really didn't like a lot of the Superman of the New 52 until like the very end when they were going to Rebirth. But Nightwing, that was my New 52 book.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like
that was the one.
Green Lantern
I got every issue.
Yeah, Batman and Green Lantern were basically the same, but I mean, you came in and had to like bring Dick back to Nightwing because he had been Batman for what, like 2 years or something before that.
They took away all his friends.
Yeah, well, how in depth, how real of an answer do you want? I mean, what?
As real as you want to give.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, don't you still work for DC sometimes? So, like, be nice, I guess.
Yeah. No, I would always be respectful, but everyone's gone. Everyone that was associated with 52 is gone. So, I've over. I mean, it's also been like 10 years now. So, I've started to become a little more honest about the experience in recent, probably like the last year or so.
So maybe just in a not, ruin your career. Would you say like maybe your hands were tied a little bit in certain aspects? Maybe.
Is he glitching out for you guys?
Who? What?
Sorry,
I think he was just being quiet. You got to lean closer, Phil.
No. Your entire question glitched out.
Sorry. Yeah, no. No, I was just asking. Do you think? Would you say your hands were kind of tied, maybe in certain respects, with that run?
Yeah, but my hands were tied for a variety of reasons, and they were not entirely outside factors. Like, you have to remember, like, I was 26 years old, and I had never written an ongoing series, much less a mini-series, when they gave me that book. And on top of that, he's my all-time favorite character. And they gave me the book. 5 days before they announced the entire New 52.
Wow.
So James Robinson was writing New 52 Nightwing.
Wow.
And it didn't work out. And that's not my story to tell. So I'm not going to talk about school on that. But it didn't work out. And I was in New York. And I'd been in New York for like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. Back then I used to go to New York and kind of turn it into like a work, like just like it wasn't a vacation, but I was like basically living and working. I was like staying with friends and then working out of the DC office at that time because they were really cool enough to let me do that. So I was writing. Let's see if I remember this right. So I was writing Deathstroke. The first issue had gone over really, really well. And I was writing Gates of Gotham. And I was also writing Supreme Power for Marvel. So I was writing 2 miniseries, Gates of Gotham and Supreme Power, having never written a miniseries before. I was in the midst of both. And then I was also writing Deathstroke for 52. And everyone knew that Nightwing was my favorite. Dick Grayson was my favorite character. And I remember being so this would have been June of 2011, and I was there for, it was either May or June. I was there for the launch of Gates of Gotham. So Snyder, Trevor McCarthy, and I did a big signing at Midtown Comics in the downtown location. It was like, it wasn't my first signing. It was definitely the first DC related signing. And so that had gone over really well. I was in the offices. So I'm trying to remember. It's been a long time since I thought about this. Oh, that's right. So one of the days I was in the offices, like early on, I'd never met Bob Harris before. I'd met Dan in passing. No. I'd met Dan several times by that point. But so Mike Marks was the Batman group editor, and myself, and I don't remember who else on the assistant editor front. We went out to lunch, and came back, and it was like, I'm sorry, there goes my cat. I have to deal with this squirt bottle.
That's funny.
Yep, there you go. She's pulling cables out.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, for anyone watching or listening, I was just, before we got on air, I was talking about how my cat decides when I'm on Zooms to climb behind the computer and pull cables out, as you do, I suppose. So anyway, come back from this lunch, and I was, I certainly, I think I had a margarita at lunch. It was a Friday. It was a late lunch, and I was working, you know, but also like I'm a freelancer, and so they're like, yeah, you can have a margarita. I think the others might have as well. And you come back in the office, and from down the hall, Bob is like, oh, Kyle, come here. And I'm like, okay. So I walked down the hall to his office, and on his walls everywhere is concept art for every single character of the New 52. And we didn't know, like, we were all kind of in a bubble in our own. They kept us all very separate at that time at the start. So I didn't know, even though I was doing Deathstroke and Gates of Gotham in the Bat Office, like, I didn't know Gale was doing Batgirl. So they told me that. And then I definitely didn't know it was Barbara Gordon, Batgirl. But I'm seeing the design on the wall. I was like, holy cow, is that Barbara? You know, with the red hair. But also, like, I just had a really nice margarita, and all of a sudden I'm trying to like keep my bearings of like, it's just like a color explosion, like inundating me all at once. And I the reason I tell the story is because I remember sitting there and Bob's like walking me through things, and I'm like, and I'm just like trying to, you know, like keep my shit together, you know. And then I'm going, where's Nightwing? Where is he? Because I want to see, like, because there's radically different designs everywhere for characters. Like the Teen Titans were unrecognizable, you know. And I'm like, oh no, where's Nightwing? What have they done to Nightwing? Where is he? And then I typed it, and it's Cully Hamner's design, and it's the design that we use more or less in the book, but he's in the blue. You know, he's got the blue wing and the black suit and everything. And I'm looking, I'm like, okay. They don't have the arm stripe down to the finger stripes, and there's no and the gauntlets are okay. I could live with those. Like, and I'm just looking at it as looking at this as a fan. I'm like,
yeah.
Okay, could be worse. You know, I missed the sharp points on the. You can see it behind me. The sharp points on the collar or the collarbone. But I'm like, okay, great. So then I leave the office, and then I go into Bobby Chase's office, and Bobby, on her wall, are the same designs of Nightwing, because Nightwing was technically under her, and then she was under Mart's in that office. And her designs are Red Nightwing. And I'm like, it's Red Nightwing, and he had a cape. And I was like, what's this? And she's like, oh, this is the Nightwing suit. And I was like, she's like, we're not sure on the cape yet, or they're not sure, or it was a little nebulous. But I was like, I don't have a great poker face when like something bothers me, and I was just like, he had red lenses, and I was like, I don't like this, you know. Like I'm not really feeling this, you know. But at the time, again, I wasn't on the book. It wasn't my gig. It was James Robinson was doing it. And so a few days go by, and maybe a week. Like I said, I was there for about 2 weeks, and then I was heading home. And the day before I was heading home, I'd said goodbye to everyone, and I was just like at a friend's place in Long Island City, and I get this text from Mike Martz, and he goes, "Hey dude, can you come back in the office today?" And I was like, "Well, I'm flying home tomorrow morning, and I'm flying home tomorrow morning, and it was I had to do that." So I was like, we already said goodbye and everything. He's like, yeah, but I'm at, like, can you still come in? And I was like, well, what is it? And I remember his response. He goes, your dream job. And so I went in, and I was like, and it was like, I went into his office, and Bobby was sitting there, and I was like, so what's going on? And it, like I said, it didn't work out with James. And I guess Dan had come down to Mike's office and said, who are you thinking for Nightwing? And Mike said, honestly, he goes, Kyle would be my choice, and said a few other nice things, and Dan nodded. He said, good, he's my choice too. Because Dan knew how much I love the character. The thing was, like, all of Scott's plans for Batman had started as a Dick Grayson's Batman. So that's why a lot of those talent plans of, like, Nightwing's great-grandfather was William Cobb, the talent, because ultimately he was going to be, a Dick Grayson story. And when they started the New 52, or planning for the New 52, that was when the decision was made to bring Bruce back. And so Scott very wisely was able to kind of, not retrofit, but he was able to adjust and change the story to be a Bruce story, but he still wanted to keep that aspect of the Talon backstory, which meant there would be a natural connection between Nightwing and Court of Owls stuff, meaning Nightwing and Scott. And because of my relationship with Scott, I was already writing Dick Grayson and Gates of Gotham, and they knew how much I had an affinity for the character. That was kind of what went into the decision to do the book. But it also meant that things were massively behind schedule. So they were like, we need 7 pages for Eddie to start drawing tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning?
I didn't have a take. I didn't have, so here was my thing. My thing was, so much of what Black Mirror did, and like the time of Dick Grayson as Batman, not only were we doing a microcosm of it in Gates, but every other book, and Grant especially, really explored, and definitely Scott and Black Mirror, the idea that, like, hey, I'm Dick Grayson, I don't feel great, like, in Gotham, I don't feel like I belong here. And then ultimately overcoming that and going like, hey, okay, but like now I've set down roots, and now I am confronting these great, not fears, but like threats, challenges, whatever, that the city is throwing back at me.
The hunger.
And yeah. And so my whole thing was like, you can't move him out of Gotham now. Like, that's the whole point. Like, everything he just went through, if you move him, then there's no character growth there at all. What's more interesting to me is you keep him there, and like, he's just him again. Like, he puts on the Nightwing mantle. Like, and what I kept but what I kept putting out there to whoever who listened was like, we as fans often want our characters to be thought of or positioned or treated like A-list characters, right?
Oh, yeah.
So the natural kind of thinking that some people have is like, well, Dick Grayson, he'll never be A-list until he's Batman. And now he's Batman, and now he's going to be B-list again because he's going to be Nightwing. It's like, that's his mantle. Like, he doesn't think of Batman as like, well, if only I could be Batman one day, like, right. He's his own guy. So that's, you're mapping that predisposition to him that I don't think in the universe he would have. He was doing Bruce a solid, and he's filling in as Batman because Gotham needs a Batman, and now Bruce is back, but the challenges that Gotham has thrown at Dick are his own. And so Dick's not going to run away from those, not at this point in his life. And I say that because all I really knew about James's take was that he was moving to San Francisco. But I don't know. I never read the script. Like, I don't know what that book was going to be, other than he's in San Francisco, and I'm pretty sure he had a butler.
Wait, San Francisco and what?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he had a butler in San Francisco. I feel like I heard that.
What?
Yeah, but again, and it could have been amazing, but it just wasn't. Look, it didn't work out, and then it's also not something that I really dug. So it was like, well, I'm definitely not going to do that because it didn't, as a status quo, because it didn't work out. So I scripted those first. I wrote like plot style, like those first like 7 pages for any start on. But that idea, I've never told this before, so you guys are the first to hear this. That meeting where I sat down and they, they were like, "Well, we make this tomorrow." We were all getting along very, very well and talking about like, what's to be, and obviously my relationship with Scott, and like that's gonna be good, and it's not really. And then Bobby floated like he said to me, "Okay, he wants to change his name." I was like, "Well, who's changing it to Nightwing?" She's like, "No, Rick." And I was like, "Rick?" So the idea of Rick Grayson goes back to 2011.
Wow. Wow.
And by the way,
I'm so
I say that with absolutely no. I have feelings on that, and I have opinions, but I say that with no judgment whatsoever. Like the point of the New 52 was, as either Phil or Tyler, I'm blanking on which one of you said this before, but like when you were talking about Green Lantern and some of it got really muddy because you had certain talent on legacy titles. And legacy not in the characters' legacy, but in their own writing legacy. So all of the continuity stood for Jeff Johns' books. Well, except for Justice League. He did go outside himself and really reinvent that for the New 52. But all that Green Lantern continuity, all that stood.
Mm-hmm.
All of Grant's Batman continuity, all that stood, because Grant was going to still write what became what we have incorporated at that point.
Yeah.
So so on the one hand, like the mandate to editorial, and like Bobby hadn't worked on books in quite a few years. I mean, she was a big deal at Marvel. She was a editor at Marvel.
Yeah.
I believe in the 80s and 90s, and she was co-editor-in-chief at one point. But she'd been out of comics, and so she came back really for the New 52. And the idea and what they had said was like, you don't have to know continuity because we're getting rid of it. Like, so it's about finding ways to reinvent these characters in a timely, contemporary fashion. And there was this like weird point of like, no one names their kid Dick anymore. And I said, and no one names him Clark or Bruce either. But
I tried.
If I ever had a son, I'm 100% naming him Richard, but it's a good thing that I'll probably never have children because he would be mocked.
I tried for Grayson, but she wouldn't go for it.
I know.
I've had students name that, both girls and boys, actually.
It's a good name.
Jania would have went with
Richard, but
she would have went with Grayson. She would have went there.
Well, and that was my thing too. It's like, well, then wouldn't it then be Rich or Richard? Like, I don't know how you get Rick out of Richard, but I guess that's what some people.
I mean, Richard has so many.
So was the Rick thing? So you said Rick Grayson. The idea was floating around in 2011. So was it like, were they trying to reboot the character, or were they gonna? Was it like what they were just doing not too long ago with the amnesia thing, or?
No.
I think it was just a name change, right?
It was just a name change.
Oh, okay.
He was just going to go by a different name, and that's where the red.
It's Rick. He wears red. You know,
what's that?
He's Rick. He wears red, double R's. You know, just all that alliterations. Red Rick. You know.
That was not a factor. But
well, that's the other rumor. I don't know if you know either way, but the rumor I heard is they put him in the red just because all the other Robins were in red, Red Hood, Red Robin, even Damian was red. No.
I mean, that could have been a factor, but I mean, I was there. I was there for this. Like, they wanted the reason the red happened. It was twofold. Well, before I get to that,
okay.
Wait, yes. Before you get to that, so you saved his name. You said no, it needs to stay Dick.
I didn't save it. I mean, I was like, okay, and I asked Mike later. I was like, we're not doing that, are we? And his exact words were, "It'll never be approved."
See, I think he's too famous as Dick. I mean, like, even your grandma knows Youthful Ward, Dick Grayson. Who's this guy?
And that's exactly why it didn't get approved. But it was in the ether. It was a conversation. Like, Bob was a really big fan and proponent of that. And again, I say that with I love Bob. There's no judgment there. I didn't agree. But I understand why that was coming up. Yeah. And just getting back to my original point before we got a little sidetracked here, just as I bring up the Green Lantern and continuity stuff. The thing was, like, editorial, and I can say this looking back on it now, like, there was such mixed mandates going on because on the one hand, you're going, reinvent these characters and reinvent some whole plot. And so, like, Teen Titans was under Bobby as well. Teen Titans was radically different, right? But then certain Bat characters, the closer they got to Batman himself, the less they were really able to be changed. So because the Batman continuity had to stand. So you got this really weird amalgamation of, like, is it a like Squint, and I guess it kind of fits, like, but I'll say this. I wrote Nightwing and Deathstroke at the same time for 8 months, okay, for 8 issues before I was fired off Deathstroke. I could not have them meet because I could not figure out if they knew each other.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the thing. So a lot of this stuff and some of the weird things that happened in New 52 happened really, everyone was coming at it with the best of intentions, but sometimes, like, those intentions, like, the more that people tried to hold on to the past, the more muddy things got. But at the same time, I know why you're holding on to the past, and, like, the past is one of DC's best qualities and aspects. Yeah. Like, they have these legacy characters and these mantles, and so it was just a really weird time to come in and to do a book. And so the reason the red happened then was really twofold. So Cully Hamner did the redesigns, and a lot of the redesigns for the New 52. And Cully, like myself, loved that Brian Stelfreeze costume. And Brian's a really good friend of Cully's. Like, Cully was there when Brian designed that costume in the 90s. And Cully's going, it's a perfect design. Like, what do you change it to? Like, it's iconic. It's perfect. And so the idea of, like, well, we can change the color is a way, it was the illusion of a more sizable reinvention, visual change than what was really actually going on. But then 2 other things happened. Grant had wanted him to have a cape. And that was part of Grant's pitch. I don't know if that's ever been out there. But, like, that was part of Grant's pitch for either Batman Incorporated or... No, I think it was, actually. Like, going into the New 52, he's going, like, Dick's going to become Nightwing again. But as a way to visually show he has changed as a result of his experience as Batman, he takes on a cape. And I only half-jokingly definitely made a reference to him. I was like, so you guys want to do full-on Chris O'Donnell, huh? That's what you want to do here? But so the cape didn't make it. The red, I mean, it came down to the day before the book was going to be announced. Actually, I got an email. I mean, I made it as clear as I could up front. I was like, the blue is better. Like, the blue is, please don't do this. Like, the blue is the way to go. But I'm a 26-year-old, like, kid writing my first big book. Like, you're only going to push so hard. And then I got an email, and it was from, and I was just an email I was CC'd on, from Rod Reese. Rod was the colorist, and he and I have done a lot of books together since. And it was the cover for issue 1, but he was colored blue. Or I can't remember which one came through first. Because one came through and I was like, oh, so we're doing the blue? And then they wrote back, they're like, oh wait, no, it's supposed to be red. And then another email came and went like, wait, no, hold on. Jim said yesterday he had a different thought. Hold on. And it was like this Schrodinger's Nightwing moment for like a solid 6 or 7 minutes where I was like, is it blue or is it red? Like, it literally could go either way here. And ultimately it came back, and it I don't want to say it was actually a coin flip, but it did come down to the wire where they were like, yeah, let's do the reds differently. So that's really how it just happened. And then I spent 3 years of my life fighting to try to get the blue back, to the point where I probably burned a lot of goodwill and capital. And then we did get it approved. He was going to put on the blue and black when I moved to Chicago, and I had a great reason for it. And then in the 11th hour, it came down that we can't do it, and so they had to hand it down outside the color issue. Back to the Red Sea.
So just change for the sake of change.
Yeah, and I get it. That's the thing. Like, I get it. I didn't love it. It's not my.
Yeah.
Comics are about the illusion. Comics are about the illusion of change. So, just changing the color. I can't see how it looks like a big deal when it's mostly the same costume.
Yeah, I mean, but
it was a big deal though.
No, it was. I mean, my whole point. I mean, Jeff and I bonded over that. It was like, I remember when I saw Jeff. I knew Jeff forever, but like when I first saw Jeff after I got the gig, I'd flown back from Chicago. So I went from New York to Chicago and stayed with my parents for a little bit, a week or so, and then I flew back to LA. So it must have been May. I must have been in New York in May, because I go to Chicago. They announced the series, the New 52 and everything. Then I flew back to LA the day before my birthday, and Dick Donner was giving a talk at a big film festival in Hollywood. And during that festival, Dan DiDio and Jim Lee were going to also speak about this crazy new initiative that was just announced. And so I went. And then Jeff was there too. Jeff had been Dick's assistant, a lifetime ago. Not lifetime ago, like early 2000s, late 90s. And so we're all like sitting around, and like somebody said something, and Nightwing came up, and Jeff looks at me and he goes, "You should be blue." And I was like, yeah, he should. And that like caught Jeff off guard. Like he expected that I was like gonna argue with him over like something that's like visually fundamental to the character. And but so like we very much bonded over that. But again, it's like in a situation like that, like a decision's made, you have to respect that the decision was made, and ultimately whoever made it, that was their decision to make. And so there was a lot of that kind of going on as well. And but my whole thing was like, in a medium where you don't have actors and performances to rely on or to create an identity for a character, it's so hard to create continuity and like cohesion from one creative team to the next, where it's actually the same character. Because every artist is going to draw a character differently. So like one artist drawing Dick Grayson's face is going to be different than another artist drawing Dick Grayson's face. The superhero costume is the thing that unifies them. And the second you put Dick Grayson in black and red, he looks like everything else. And so that was always my argument. It's like, but that the color is important because it is the visual that it is associated with Nightwing. Whereas black and red, I don't know if I'm looking at Batwoman, I don't know if I'm looking at Batman Beyond, I don't know if I'm looking at the Hood, like a Robin, like I'm just not sure.
The Flying Graysons were blue.
Yeah, well, that was actually how I was justifying putting them back in blue and black. The original script in issue, whatever it was, I think it was 19 when we moved to Chicago. You know, he's broke, he's got 2 pennies to his name, he's got 2 pennies and a Nightwing suit to his name, but this one comes in Flying Grayson blue. That was the line. And he was there trying to hunt down Tony Zuko. So it all like thematically felt, you know, yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I got to compliment you now when I, you know, you're like, oh, I had like 5 days. I mean, the whole thing with the circus in the first arc and then Tony Zuko later. I'm like, man, he's been thinking about this for a while.
Well, yeah, actually the circus wasn't me. The circus was Bobby and Fred Hubert. In that they wanted it in the book. And I didn't want the circus. I came, and it's so funny to think about it now, and that really like speaks to how much, you know, as you get older, and the more you write, the more you start to recognize what is unique to a character and how to like lean into that. Because I think back on it now, and then I was like, this is the least interesting aspect of the character to me. I don't want to do big top circus. Like, who wants to do that? Or who wants to read that? And yet, the circus is so unique and fundamental to him. And what I think about a lot now is like, if I could do it over, what I would have done, and I did get into the circus, like in the idea of it, the possibilities eventually. But like, if I could do it over, I would have reinvented the circus too. Like if I were doing it now, I would have turned it into a Cirque Soleil type, just something a little more contemporary that still had an emphasis on acrobatics. But you know, like I said, it's my first book, and I was just like, you know, I was just trying to keep my head above water half the time. And there were so many different notes coming from all different directions.
What was the introduction of Sonia Zuko your idea? Was that an angle that you went with?
Yeah, but I didn't do it for a little while.
Well, didn't Scott have her, or was that a different character?
Well, she's in Black Mirror. We're gonna get to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's in Black Mirror. I knew I wanted to use her though. What really became tricky was that Scott and I were on very different playing fields. So like Scott was sorry, the cat is driving me crazy. Scott was kind of Scott was the heir apparent. You know, like Scott, even at that point, coming off the heat of Black Mirror, his detective run, it's Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo launching a new Batman #1, and Marx is editing it directly. So like when Scott is pitching like, I'm going to do an 11-part story, DC, sorry guys, this is literally my life.
It's okay.
It's funny.
So when Scott was pitching doing what became Court of Owls, he's like, it's going to be 11 parts. And Scott likes to structure big, long stories like that at a time when DC especially was looking to do shorter stories. So Scott was going to get to the William Cobb, Dick Grayson connection in issue 7, which meant I couldn't really do all that much until issue 7. So it became this little bit of a puzzle where it was like, I can't tread water for 7 months, but this is going to be foundational to Batman, and I do need to support that. Can I build a villain that, you know, and I mean, you guys have read it, so that's what ultimately kind of like happened. But it just meant like all the time, like, you know, Bobby was always like, this is taking too long, Kyle. Like, you got to, you know, it's like, I don't know what you want me to do. Like, he's got this point that's going to hit 7, like either like, and then when we decided early on we wanted to write the same scene. We wanted to co-write that scene for the reveal. But that scene in Batman is like 8 pages or 9 pages or something like that. And at that point, Bobby would, like, her note all the time to me was like, well, no, you have 2 pages in a row of dialogue. This is you can't do 3 in a row. I was not allowed to do conversation scenes that lasted 3 pages. Had to be 2 pages max. So we get to that issue, and it's like, yeah, you're not getting 8 pages from this. So if you actually look at it, like, I actually like found a way to weave, and I'm actually really proud of it. I actually do think that scene in particular in the solutioner, I don't think she was wrong there at all. 8 pages of the same exact, Ryan Parrott and I have done it now in Power Rangers, where we wrote the same scene from 2 points of view. And it's so funny that I did it 2 years ago for the first time since I did it almost 10 years ago. And when I was doing it 2 years ago, I'm going like, this is too long. How do we find a way? Because like people are paying a lot of money for a book these days. And if all of a sudden they're reading, it feels like they're reading the exact same content as the book they also just paid $4 for or whatever, $3 for. It doesn't, like creatively, it's really exciting to us to do. But like from a reader's standpoint, it's like, well, I could have just bought one book. I didn't need to buy both of them. So I get it. But yeah, that was constantly a conversation. It's like, you're just talking too much, and the clown be juggling in the background. Sure, like it's just like stuff like that. So it was an experience, yeah.
And I was gonna say, and I'm sure it's like an extra hurdle to get over. Does it hurt your story? Do you think like maybe just the momentum, maybe to the crossovers like Death of the Family, 0 Year, stuff like that?
There are blessings and curse. On the positive side, well, on the negative side, sure, you could say that, but I never looked at it that way. I looked at it a little bit differently, and I approached it a little bit differently too. So I looked at it, just purely from a sales standpoint. When you're a part of a crossover, your book's going to sell. And the way that comics really work, monthly superhero books, is it's all about like staving off the rate of attrition. So like your book every month is going to go down in sales numbers. That's just is what happens. So you're constantly trying to like curb that dip. When you do an event or a crossover or a big status quo change, that's a way to boost numbers, and it kind of resets some of that attrition, at least for a little while, right? So it's constantly a little bit of that game. So being a part of those crossovers was a way to definitely get more eyes on my book that month. And also, I love collaborating on that stuff. It's fun. And working with Scott, like Scott and I are still pretty close, and we don't really talk story that much anymore, just because we have very separate careers now. But we approach story very, very, very similarly. It's what makes us really good collaborators. The plus side of it for me when I was in it, the way I looked at it was, okay, I know I've got to be a part of this. I want to be a part of Court of Owls. I want to be a part of Death of the Family. So what I did, Death of the Family is probably the best iteration of this, where rather than going, oh shit, in a few months, my whole arc is going to be interrupted by this event, instead I went, it's a feature, not a bug. Mm-hmm. Why don't I build the emotional arc in a way where the event is the culmination of it, and it pays off emotionally. So Death of the Family is tearing down the surface. It's tearing down Amusement Mile and this thing that Dick is trying to build in order to bring hope back to Gotham and light back into this kind of dark city. And the Joker tearing that down is the culmination of that story and that arc. So I was able to use the event to pay off things I was already doing. And Ryan and I had similar conversations when we were doing Shattered Grid a few years ago. And that was the advice I gave to him. So it's like, build it in a way where like the storyline you're telling for the Shattered Grid event is also the culmination of what you've been building. So it, in the series unto itself. So it doesn't feel like your book has been interrupted by this event. It feels like a very natural progression from that. So, but it did get to be a bit much. So what I remember now that I think about it, specifically was we had Death of the Family, and that was issues 14 and 15. 15 and 16. And then, so I was writing issues 15 and 16 for Eddie Barrows. Andres Guinaldo drew issues 13 and 14, which I didn't write because they brought in Tom DeFalco for those 2 issues, which is a whole other story. So I'm writing issues 15 and 16 for Eddie Barrows. Juan Jose, they knew that Eddie wasn't going to stand the book anymore, and they were going to bring in Brett Booth. And that was going to be for issue 19. Juan Jose Rip was going to draw issues 17 and 18. And here's where it gets crazy. So I'm writing the Death of the Family 2 issues. No, I was writing issue 15. That's what it was. I was writing issue 15 for Death of the Family for Eddie Barrows. I was also writing issue 17 for Juan Jose Rip. And I was writing issue 19 for Brett Booth. So I was writing for 3 different artists, part 1 of their storyline, essentially. And I had to figure out and make sure it was all going to track. The problem was Grant is going to do what Grant wants to do. And so Grant was killing Damian. And he was killing Damian right around the same time with Death of the Family, but they weren't going to be connected.
Uh-huh.
And I was the first person, schedule-wise, that was slated to write the aftermath of Damian in Nightwing, in the Nightwing script. Except I didn't know how he died. So it was like, what are we doing here? I don't really quite know what to do. And so it was like, well, write it and let's see what Grant does, and then we can adjust. I'm like, okay. So I do. Or maybe it wasn't even that. I think I wrote it and we got the approval. And then it was like all good. But it was also like, man, I just did this event, Death of the Family, and now I have to pay service to Damian, which I don't mind. I mean, I love that character. But in the New 52, it's still unclear, like, is it not going to happen? Like, we could never explicitly say, even though it did. So it's like Damian and Dick had this relationship. Like, I definitely need to find a way to acknowledge this without shining too bright a light on their relationship, because that feels like we're looking backwards rather than looking forwards, which is what the mandate always was. And so I turned in the script and everything. It's all good. And I just randomly end up at this party in Los Angeles one night, and it was a party for it was Legendary was throwing and Thomas Toll, who was still running Legendary at the time, was going. And he had brought in like a one-man Lord of the Rings performer, like flew in from New Zealand. He was like at the house. He was at the House of Blues on Sunset, and there were arcade games, and it was fully catered, and it was incredible. Like, it was just this awesome, geek, just kind of hangout. And I turned, and there's Grant. And I was like, I thought you were in Scotland. You live in Scotland. He's like, no, it's split my time. Los Angeles right now. That's an awful Grant. And so we're talking as we're in line at a buffet. We're both getting food and everything. And talking. It's like, hey, I was like, I just turned in the script and everything. For the death. Oh, that's great. I'm not going to try to do a Scottish accent for this part, but he was, you can even consider what that awful. You can edit this out, right? So I said to him, he was like, yeah, no, I think it turned out really well. I'm really proud of it. And he goes, yeah, well, it will definitely, I mean, of all people, it's going to hit Dick the hardest because he's there when Damien dies and he can't save him. I'm like, what? yeah. I was like, he's there?
You're like, kind of wish I'd known that.
So I text Martz from the party. I was like, hey, I just ran into Grant. And Mike's like, I just got the script from him today. And yeah, so I was like, okay, how do we do this? And honestly, I don't remember. I haven't looked at that stuff in 10 years. Like, I don't even know what I did for those issues. But yeah, so those were, but you also have to keep in mind, because I know, I don't know what it sounds like I'm reading here, but like, I don't mean to be. Like, that is just the reality of writing and sharing. Sometimes that happens. I would get notes sometimes, like on Friday. My favorite story to tell is like issue 4 with Nightwing back. I really felt, and everyone felt like I really found a groove. And part of it was I was doing it with Trevor. We just done dates together. Trevor was, I love Any Heroes to Death. I love his art. He wasn't a great fit for the type of Nightwing that I wanted to be, which was high energy, very kinetic. Scott McDaniel-esque Nightwing. And Trevor was. But had it there been 6 more months before they were going to start New 52, they probably would have had Trevor do Nightwing because of what we did with Scott. It's such a natural progression. That's not what happened. So, but Trevor did the fill-in in issue 4, and we just went kind of like balls to the wall with this awesome story, and it was also Dick and Barbara's relationship. And there's this moment where she's giving him a hard time, and he smiles and he smirks, and you turn the page, and it's a splash page of them soaring over South Beach. Big smile on his face. It's like, yeah, and it's on a page turner too. And on Friday, it was like 3 p.m. in New York, so it was like noon in LA. I get this call, and they're like, hey, so Danny just read the issue, and he thinks there needs to be, like, there's something about Dick and Barbara's relationship where, like, we really need to, like, recontextualize it for readers and make it clear that we never dated. Something like that. And so it was like, that's the place to do it. So you have to write voiceover for this whole sequence, and you can't change any of the art because it's going to the printer in 2 hours. So you have 25 minutes to do this.
Oh, jeez.
And it was like, okay, and it's just like zero in and like figure out how to. So that would happen sometimes, where it's just like figuring out a way to like write a new story to fit existing art. And that happens a lot in comics. So.
I mean, I guess so.
It's
what?
stressful.
So what you're saying is like continuity is like a double-edged sword. You know, you might have helped sell some Batgirl books, or maybe Gail helped you sell some Nightwing books. But it's like you really can't. If Barbara's in your book, you really can't go radical with her character because Gail's doing something with her over there. And
yeah, but I wouldn't anyway. But that's not.
Yeah. But I just mean you can't, like, if you wanted Dick and Barbara together, there would have to be talks with a lot of people.
No, I would have to be more. I would have to get bigger name.
You'd have to get what?
I would have to be a bigger deal. Bigger name as a writer. I would need to have more like line control.
So like Scott Snyder could put them together.
But yeah, like
every business has these hierarchies.
Yeah, I mean I wrote an annual that was Dick and Barbara.
Yeah,
and I don't remember the details enough, but I know that a similar thing happened in the 11th hour, where it was like I had to completely blow up the ending, and had to rewrite that ending once the art was done. I think we might have gotten an art patch for it, but it was like threading the world's finest needle. It was like they never dated, but they did, I don't remember. Like I have it all still. Like I have the original, I have the old, I keep everything. I'm sure I can find it.
I feel like it's very unclear in New 52 if they dated or not. I think they keep trying to keep it ambiguous.
I think Gale, and that's something like Gale had more, she had more power and sway than I did for sure. So like there were certain things I feel like she was able to push across the plate, and she was also like, I'm sure she was far more politically savvy than me, especially back then, because I was just starting out. And that was what was so hard and frustrating for me. It's like I felt like, man, like this is my dream job, and I'm just not proud of the work and books that are coming out. It's like I'm never going to get to do this again. This was my one shot, and it's like, how do I do it? And that's a pretty, I don't know. It's a little bit of it's a selfish and also naive way to look at it as well. So luckily I got over it.
Sure. I imagine it's probably particularly hard since you are such a fan of the character. There's so many things you would want to do and you feel so personal. And I guess it's something that I'm always learning every time Phil brings in someone for us to interview. I tend to think of, when I think of writing, I think of a novel. And of course you have complete control in a novel because it's your characters and they're doing what you want and you end it when you end it. And comics are not that at all.
Well,
not the big.
I mean, maybe a little bit, but you don't have complete control and you can't necessarily, and you need to keep it going.
It depends on what we're talking about. Like, are we talking about creator-owned comics, or are we talking about
like Cal?
Big Two. Cal, yeah.
Yes, I guess I'm referring to like a Nightwing comic, like a superhero, like a legacy, like a Batman Nightwing legacy.
You couldn't do that in a novel either. Like, you would have to be like, it's they have their own challenges. I've never tried to write a novel. I've always been afraid of it because it's so many words. But the one big plus to it is it is the closest thing, I would argue, aside from going from person to person and telling them a story, is the closest thing to a direct connection from your brain to a viewer or a reader, because it's just words on a page. Comics are a close second, because it's you and a collaborator, unless you're a cartoonist or you're doing it all yourself. But comics can be so pure. Even Big Two superhero books, they can be so pure. Grant likes to say that they're mainlining. They're all first drafts. Comics are all first drafts, and it's like you're just mainlining the good stuff, And there is something to be said for that, even on Big Two superhero stuff, So it's just, I don't know, like, in a weird way, I have a lot of fond memories for it, and I got to come back and do Nightwing Order, which I'm really proud of. And so, like, it's a little bittersweet, for sure.
Well, I was going to ask, what is your favorite Nightwing? Or I'd say, what is your favorite Dick Grayson thing that you wrote?
That I wrote?
Yeah, that you wrote. Yeah.
I really like Nightwing Order. I like it because it was an opportunity. I took some big chances, and so much of that story was, and the narration from his son Jake looking back, was me going, how I love this character, Dick Grayson. How could he possibly believe this? And that became it scared me. The concept and what the natural implications of the concept would mean scared me. It scared me as a fan of that character. And because I was a little older and I had been writing professionally longer at that point, I was able to recognize that fear and go, that's exactly why you should do it. And turn that into what the point of the narrative is. And I remember when I told Dan DiDio thematically what the book was going to be. I distinctly remember summing up saying, like, this is a story about how even really good people can come to believe in really terrible things. And Dan looked at me and he goes, "That's great." And that was like, and I had really like distilled it down. And so I'm very, very proud of that. But you know what? Oh, actually, I've got a different one. I've got the number one thing that I am so proud of more than anything else is something I came up with it halfway through my run, and I sat on it until my final issue. And it's the narration where he says, it's not about cities and supervillains or costumes or whatever it was. He goes, for me, all of this boils down to, like, it's much simpler than that. I grew up in a traveling circus. It's always been about catching people when they fall.
Oh yeah, that's a good line.
And that line, that summation, that distillation of character says everything for me. I remember I'm reading an interview with Jeff years ago where he was like, Dick Grayson's the guy who'll like save you from a mugger, tie your shoe, and buy you a beer. You know? And to me, there's such a level of empathy there that, of course, Bruce has as well, but it's a little closed off at times. But Dick Grayson is like that. The catching people when they fall is such a just a great. I think it says everything about that character, especially with the background. So I'd probably say that.
I was gonna ask something. I don't know, like raise my hand. But what was it like? My sound went out a minute ago, so if I repeat anything, I apologize. What was it like writing Dick Grayson when you did Batman Beyond 2.0?
That was a lot of fun. Yeah, that was a lot of fun too. That one, I am really, really proud of that Batman Beyond run. It was interesting because it was a little bit of a weird one. Adam Beechin had written the Hush Beyond story arc for Batman Beyond. I think that was the first Batman Beyond comic that they actually did. And so he introduced, that future DC AU version of Dick Grayson, and he gave him the eye patch and everything. And there was some stuff in there that I was like, it's not what I would have done, but I also that was what the character was,
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like, okay, well, I guess this is what he's going to look like, and it's fine. It's not what my preference, it's not what I would have done. But so I was trying to. There are certain elements, and the Joe Chill stuff. Again, I never would have done that. I never would have heard that. I understand why Adam did, and it was a good story. And I did find, I found a way to use it later. But I was looking to just do pure DC animated universe, continuation. So there, little things like that were just kind of little wrinkles where it was okay, I got to figure out a way to kind of navigate those. But that core premise of Dick Grayson in the Bruce mentorship role, where he's a little more gruff and a little more grizzled than we've seen him in the past, but he still makes quips, is just straight up Dick Grayson to me. I could hear Lauren doing that voice for that, and that always made me smile. So that was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Did you see what Dan Jurgens is doing with Dick in his Batman Beyond right now?
No,
Yeah, Dick's like the mayor of Gotham City. I mean, it kind of works, you know. He's older, you know. Of course, he's older. He has a daughter. I don't think they've even said who the mother is yet.
It's so funny. I love Dan. That's really funny to me though, because Dan has pulled a bunch of my stuff actually. Like Dan did all the talent stuff that I was kind of building, and then I did that splash in my final issue of what Dick Grayson could have been, which was as the Talon assassin. Like Dan did all that. I created the Rewired character in Batman Beyond 2.0. Dan then used them, even though like it makes no sense because the Rewired character is specific to the DC animated version of Batman Beyond. But like then I saw he's like just showing up in the main DC universe Batman Beyond that Dan was doing. As if they were the same, and like, yes, they are. Okay, and then I had a whole thing about Dick Grayson, and a relationship with the mayor that I was going to do in Chicago, in that one to that. So that's a funny little coincidence that he's doing as the mayor. Is that book still going on? I thought that book was canceled.
I think it's ending at 50. I think he has like an issue or two left of it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you know, I don't keep up. Actually, that is the one. That's the one. I can't. It's kind of like trying to stay friends with an ex-girlfriend. Like
I was gonna ask. That's what Devin said too. Devin, she said, just like an ex. I wish him well, but I can't read it after I leave.
Same. Yeah. Marv Wolfman said that to me. And
maybe that's where she got it too.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think, or maybe I got it from Devin. Because Devin and I spoke when I was on the book. She was really helpful a few times, especially when I was like really struggling.
All right, we'll wrap up soon because I promised you an hour conversation. But I mean, okay, you're not keeping up on the books, but have you watched the Titan series at all? No.
It's his ex. He can't be stalking him on social media.
Unless I'm doing it, I don't. Because it's just the Titan show is a weird one as well. Because like I would love to do that, but it's also like there was no way in a million years I ever would have been considered for that show as a writer. So that it just like stings even more. Just like I don't know. Do people? Is it good? I haven't seen.
It's too gritty for me.
Yeah, they do try to do gritty.
But I mean, I don't know if that like means anything. I mean, I'm the guy. I was gonna say when you were talking about the Batman Beyond, I think you had a excellent answer that's in the book. Because the Batman Beyond kind of stresses me out because Dick and Bruce are not really very friendly in that, and I like it even though they've had their issues. That's one of the main things I like about main continuity is they're still friend, father, son, whatever. And you were like, well, that's really the best. And you were saying that's really the best way to get drama because you have such a smaller world. And I was like, oh, that all makes sense.
They get along in my Batman Beyond.
All right, that's good. I guess I'm thinking of like the TV show where he never showed up and it was like, what's going on?
Yeah, well, that is
not like each other.
That is one regret I have about the Batman Beyond run was I don't regret the Dick, Barbara, Bruce storyline in doing it. I regret one aspect of it, how I executed it. But the thing is, like, I would never have. The show established that dynamic that like Bruce and Barbara had a relationship,
right? Which is weird.
It is, and I would never. Again, I would not done it, except the show had done it. So it's like, well, I'm going to play that out, and I'm going to mine it for hopefully some emotional and thematic drama, and more importantly, answers. Because once we got the answers at the end of during Return of the Joker, like my feeling was anytime that Batman Beyond appeared after Return of the Joker, it just wasn't as exciting because you got all the answers of what happened, and they were incredible. So my whole thing on the book was like, I want to bring that sense of like, what the hell went down back to this title, or back to this character, into this world. And the best way I thought of to do it was move things forward a year, and it's Dick and actually Terry, and Bruce and Terry had a big falling out, and then that naturally looped back into like what actually happened with Dick and Bruce, because Dick was never in the show, and Barbara, and it was like, well, I know what that looks like. I can see how to make that work dramatically. But I kind of treated them almost like a divorced couple, Bruce and Dick in the book. They're like a divorced couple who like just so much time has gone by that it just doesn't. The things that they were angry about just don't matter, So it's like there's a lot of history there. There's also a lot of love there as well, and so like the things that Dick was mad at Bruce about were a lifetime ago. That's how I treated it. So sorry guys, I feel like I just kind of rambled at you for an hour.
That was awesome.
People are here.
I learned so much.
Yeah, we learned a lot of secrets, and I mean, people are here to hear you, not us this time. Tell me.
Well, yeah, I mean, are there other questions you guys had that
I want to say, have you worked on anything outside of comics as far as like working on a new short film or anything? I remember you when you talked about The League, like I went and got it from iTunes and watched it and enjoyed it. And then your little Shattered Grid little like trailer film you made. Have you worked on anything else or planning on anything? Or
yeah, I mean, I did this big I did a big new short a few years ago called The Shadow Hours, and it's online, theshadowhours.com. But there's a big feature. I shouldn't say big, but there's a feature in the works for me to direct, and we landed. So I wrote the feature screenplay as well, and we landed an awesome producer who's made some of my favorite movies actually, and we just landed our lead actor, who is one of my all-time favorite actors. So that's been really trippy and weird and amazing to start going through the scripts together and just getting to know each other. So that's hopefully next year. If the world
awesome.
And then what else? Yeah, I had a movie announced last year actually, but just with everything going on, COVID, I don't think it's maybe working on that particular studio. So we have the rights back on for Hadrian's Wall. But that's still in the works. And then I've got a bunch of stuff coming up. Some in comics and some not in comics.
All right.
Like very close to being able to talk.
I was going to say, if there's any comics or anything else you want to promote, yeah, please do.
I'm trying to think. Like, I'm just doing Ultraman right now for Marvel.
Oh yeah.
And then I have some new. I have the Kickstarter going, and then I have a new creator-owned book that we're going to announce next month. So.
And if you have anything you want to, want me to add to the show notes, just send it to me, and I'll add links or whatever to the show notes. So.
Well, actually, speaking of Nightwing, they're putting out the omnibus of my New 52 run, which is cool. And that'll be out, I think, December 1st. And
I pre-ordered it already.
Oh, good. Well, that it was funny because when you guys emailed me to do this, I could just put the finishing touches on like all the copy and everything that I either wrote or tweaked or whatever. And they let me pick a bunch of the art for like the flak jackets, and so that was really, really cool. I got to pick some of the quotes. Now, having said that, they then laid off like the entire collected editions division. So I actually don't know if all of the stuff that I contributed, if they're going to use it. I don't know, because the person who would have shepherded it through is no longer there. So I'm actually not even sure. I'm not even sure what the cover art is going to be now. So we'll see.
All the previews they have.
Yeah, but that could change, isn't it?
The cover art on all the things I've seen, this is the cover art.
I know, but that was placeholder.
Right. That's the placeholder. Okay.
The conversations we had were about doing the issue 1 cover, this one.
With the blue. Sorry.
Yeah, right.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll do the remastered edition where we recolor every issue. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know if that's what.
I'm a little bummed that
Yeah.
Nightwing never got a adult comic book or adult coloring book treatment. Like, you know, because I bought Court of Owls had one, and I would have liked Nightwing to have one. It would have been cool.
Was Nightwing in the Court of Owls coloring book?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, we've bought Mad Love, the Court of Owls, graphic novel. There was a Batgirl one, but like there was no like direct like Nightwing story coloring book. I wish there had been. So
that would be cool. I mean,
then I could color it blue, you know.
Yeah.
There you go. Or you could color him half red and half blue, like it's Sleeping Beauty Nightwing. Make it pink.
I have this.
Nice.
I have to be careful how I say this, but I have a book coming up, and I wrote a line, and the dude is blue, like color scheme. And I didn't even think about this. And there's there's like a bad guy version of red. And there's a line in the book where one of the supporting characters goes, "Yeah, maybe there's another one with red. It looks like you with red." And my one of my ex-girlfriends, who I was with over the time I was writing Nightwing, she and I are still good friends, and so I sent her this to read, and she texted me a screenshot of that, just with just crying, laughing. It's like this movie is short. I'm looking at me like, oh, because it's a weird. She was there for all of the Nightwing colors of the costume, and so I guess I haven't. I guess I still have some issues to work out. Really, subconsciously working into.
Before we go, I was going to ask, when Nightwing wrapped up, were you ever considered for Grayson, or like how did that ending? Did Forever Evil, were they like, hey, we're doing this and it's gonna change? Were you, because you wrote until the end and then it was like, then you were done, and I didn't know if.
I have to be careful how
I. Oh, all right, sorry.
It was not my choice to read. But I've been doing it for almost 3 years.
Wait, can you lean a little closer? It's hard for me to hear you.
Okay, sure. It was not my choice to read, but I had been reading the book for almost 3 years, and I didn't know what was coming. But the day before San Diego Comic Con, they ran Bloody videos as advertisements. And said, I'm writing a book. I feel like I should know who it is, right? Like, you guys can tell me, right? And I just couldn't get into it. Yeah, you're getting found out.
Kyle, we're having trouble hearing you.
You're having trouble hearing me?
Yeah.
I don't mean.
Okay. All right. That's all right. Maybe we'll just cut it there. But Thank you so much.
That sucks that you didn't know, and then then did, but only for a very short while.
That seems to be in modern comics. They give you a run, and then it's like they renumber and give it to someone else. They have a run, they renumber it, give it to somebody else, and it's.
Can you still not hear me?
I can barely hear you. I don't know. It's. Kristen, I had to bring up a sore subject. I'm kidding.
I didn't know.
I'm kidding. No.
Is that any different?
A little better. Yeah.
Just think of cat. Swear to God, cat.
Cats.
Maybe your voice just isn't as loud as all of us. We're just shouty.
How about now?
That's good.
Oh yeah, that's good.
That's
so
amazing.
what happened was my cat pulled the cable out and it defaulted to the internal microphone inside the laptop.
Makes sense.
Oh, I was gonna say, I was like, you're so loud now. It's great.
I heard a fan. It was probably from the computer.
Are we live or were you recording this?
Both?
Oh, okay. Do you want me to say any of that again?
It's up to you.
Do you want to relive it?
That's okay. No, I mean the long and short of it was that no, I did not know what was coming in Forever Evil. And 2 days before San Diego, they ran like bloody Nightwing logo advertisements, and it says when the unthinkable happens. And I was like, well, I'm writing his book. Like, I feel like I should know what the unthinkable is, right? Like, and they felt differently, or certain people felt differently. So I did finally figure out what was going on. But then, the way I figured out was when I was in San Diego. Like, yeah, they offered the book to someone else, and that person told me.
Oh, man.
So
this is a cutthroat industry.
It can be. But yeah, then I was told after San Diego, like, okay, we're gonna wrap up the book. You're gonna close it out. It's gonna be finished and done. We're at issue 29. That's your last issue, and the book is gonna end. And what was really crazy was that the book was selling quite well still. And then what was crazier is that they had no plan for what to do afterwards. So I write issue 29, and then they decide they're going to add an issue 30. And then that didn't end up happening the way that everyone thought it was going to happen. Because again, there was no plan for what to do with a new Nightwing series or a new whatever. And so Tom and Tim were, let me see if I remember this right. Then someone called me back and said, hey, I feel like you didn't get to say goodbye. Do you want to write issue 30? And I was like, no, I said goodbye. Like, did you not read my last issue? Like, I said everything, And they were like, well, we would need the issue 30 script in like 3 days. And I was like, I'm going to pass. And I turned it down. And then I think Tom was lined up for what would eventually become Grayson. But they paired Tom with Tim for issue 30, which they did in the crazy amount of time. And then I think that carried over into what became Grayson, but I was out by that point and I was pretty angry. And so I didn't really keep up with the internal, like what was going on, but I know that what became Grayson was a surprise, like for sure.
Wow.
And I've heard the book's great. Like I haven't read it, but everything I saw looked awesome. So
it's pretty fun.
So that wasn't the plan from day one. They
no
just came up with the
no. There was no. That's what I'm saying. There was no plan for what to do with Dick Grayson after revealing his secret identity to the world. There was no plan for what that would mean.
Feels like this is something you would plan.
I had no, I mean, again, they didn't even tell me what they were doing. So
especially like you said, if the book's selling, I don't know, you would think you would at least have a plan if you're going to, I understand.
Yeah, it's weird. It's
you want like big, oh, Dick Grayson's out into the world and stuff. Okay, I get it. It's a big thing, but it's like, when don't you plan, or at least get a writer and say, hey, what are you going to do next?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think they were looking to change things up, I guess. And Jeff had these story beats that he wanted to do in Forever Evil. But, when you have an event like that, there are going to be characters that are utilized in different ways that perhaps you're doing a company-wide event, and this happens no matter who the writer is. They're able to pull characters from wherever. And sometimes things like that happen where you go like, that's a story beat I need for this event. Now, does it impact the character going forward? Well, it'll have to. But if that character is not a part of that writer's like kind of normal like status quo of books that they would take on after the event, then it's like it's up to kind of the group editor and or whoever the creative force on the Bat books at the time would be of what it's going to be. I do remember vaguely like there were conversations like Snyder and James Tynan were talking about like maybe you just make him a spy, because again it's like, okay, his identity is going to be revealed to the world. There are only so many stories you can do there in the immediate aftermath of that. And that at the same time, the other thing that was happening was Mike Martz was leaving DC and Mark Doyle was taking over as the Batman group editor. So there was a transition happening as well. And so when you look at Grayson, and again, like I said, I haven't read the series, but I've seen enough of it. You can see Mark Doyle's kind of handprints on that. In that it has a little bit more of like a Vertigo flavor, and it's not like straight up superhero action. Like it plays with the medium and the form a little bit more.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the story. That's the story of it. But
so are you on contract for every individual issue pretty much when you get a book?
No. Well, it depends on who you are. I was never on contract at DC at all. So there are some writers who sign exclusives. But that's kind of the only contract that is there. Like even when I was doing Power Rangers at Boom, they kept referring to contracts. And I remember saying like, we don't have a contract. Like I don't have, like we have an agreement for what a rate will be for 11 issues. But guess what? If you decide you don't want me after issue 6, it's not like you have to pay me for issues 7 through 11. Like that's not,
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like if we hit issue 11, that means I can renegotiate because I'm not locked in on a rate, but it's not a contract guaranteeing work. And so like the understanding in comics, especially like work for hire comics, is like if you're on an ongoing series, you're on it until like then they give you notice usually of like how many issues you have left, if they're going to end the book or if they want to bring in a different creative team. It's usually a conversation. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's different for each person. So.
All right. Well, again, Cal, thank you so much for taking your time out.
Yeah, of course.
Your day talking. And again, before we let you go, do you want to plug anything again or get the word out there?
No, I mean, I've got some creator-owned stuff coming up, and I've got some movie stuff coming up as well. Knock on wood. And I also have something that I'm pitching next week that I'm really excited about, and that's one that have a good thought for it is what I would ask you guys, because I think it could be really cool. So
awesome, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, and one day I may reach out to you again because we do talk other comics here. So we have the
oh, you do? It's not just Nightwing?
Yeah, no, we have multiple.
No, this show is only Nightwing.
Wait, so how often? I'm going to turn it around on you guys. How often do you guys do this and do Nightwing?
Well, me and Kristen usually talk Nightwing once a week. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. And Tyler's just crashing?
Yes.
Tyler's here because I'm just a big fan of your work.
Oh,
So-
thanks, man.
Oh yeah, he heard
yeah.
your name. He was like, "Oh, can I get in on that?" I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah, actually,
I'll-
we're same wing time, same wing channel.
Oh, that's good. Is it-
every Monday at 9:15. Well, that's our time. So yours
you
is
hang out-
6:15.
Do you hang out in the aviary too? Is that what you would call it, or?
Oh,
I don't know. We hang out at the. So Phil does all the technical things, and I just talk.
Okay.
It works out well for me.
Tyler, is that a fortress of solitude down there where
It's
you
the
are,
cave-
or
it's the Cave of Solitude
the Cave of Solitude? Okay.
because it's my
Nice.
base. Like, you can only see part of it, but like I got more stuff over here.
Oh,
like,
cool. Yeah.
Like you can kind
Very
of see
nice.
there's more stuff over here. Like
Oh, nice.
yeah.
What do you think? What do you think of? I saw a Justice League poster. What do you
Yeah,
think of? What's that?
I said it's right there.
Yeah. Well, I can't see it now, but what do you think of the DC, some of the DC film, like the Justice League film or Man of Steel? As a Superman fan, what's your feeling?
Man, that's a big question. But my thing is, it's weird because I know you're a film guy, like
Mhm.
of course you're a director and everything. So like I get like the director integrity, I get what he's trying to do, but I also understand that like you can have your vision and you're trying to work through something, but then you have studio interference and your story gets muddled. Like you don't get to complete your vision. So like I understand that, Man of Steel I really like, and we could talk about that all day. Like there's things different, but like growth of the character differences I really appreciate in that film. There's a couple of things I don't like that happen in that film. One being the tanker truck scene. Okay, just that's quick. When
Okay.
Zod kicks the tanker truck at him, and instead of stopping it, he like jumps and like slides between it, and then it blows up and blows the building behind him. I thought that was a little, negligent on his part. As far as Justice League goes, I'm really excited to see like what they release on HBO Max as the Snyder Cut, just because of that whole like background story about all the interference from the studio. Basically the movie was reshot, re-edited, and like Frankenstein, and that's what we got in theaters. But what's funny to me though is looking at the Justice League film that we got, and a lot of those Superman scenes, like especially at the end where he shows up as Superman, I love. Like as tacky as it is, like when he shows up and it's like, I believe in truth, but I'm also a big fan of justice. Like he punches Steppenwolf, like you cheer every time. That was all part of the reshoot stuff. So it's kind of interesting. Like I really like that scene. So I just, my thing is to stay positive, trying to enjoy the characters, looking forward to the new TV series. I think that's a little bit more like why I'm excited, because like one thing that got me back excited is when they did Superman as a dad, because when they introduced that whole Lois and Clark angle came out in 2015, Jurgen's run there. That's when my son was born, was that year. So like the idea of Superman being a dad, and then so like that was just something I loved in the story. And since now they're going to bring that to film, TV, that's exciting for where the character is going to go.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be all quick here.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, I haven't seen Justice League. I haven't seen. Well, I guess it's probably easier if I say what I have seen. I saw Man of Steel, and I saw Wonder Woman.
Nice.
Those are the only two. Yeah.
I love Shazam. Because it's just a good like feel good.
Oh yeah, that
movie.
was fun. Yeah,
Even though it has the worst villain of all of DC in it,
Which one? Oh, Shazam.
Yep. Billy Batson's mom is the worst villain of all of DC films.
Spoiler alert! Oh my god. No, it's okay. I probably won't see it. I didn't. Yeah, I really disliked Man of Steel, and I have a lot of respect for Zack Snyder. It is hard enough to get a movie made to begin with, and I'm just talking like movies in general. But a lot, his stuff's not really my cup of tea. So I made a decision at a certain point where it was like, I'm not gonna go see a movie that I feel like I'm 90% sure I'm not gonna enjoy. So I'm just gonna tap out on these. So, but I enjoyed Wonder Woman. Or most of it.
I liked Wonder Woman. I'm not a fan of the huge. I'm just not a fan of like the third act CG, just like where I can't really tell anything is real or what. It's just a bunch of light and color.
See, I actually liked the third act of Wonder Woman. I actually thought I thought it was pretty solid, all things considered. But my thing is more like I don't like a lot of the overall aesthetics of not even just how the movie is shot, but just the tone in general. And some of that is with with how it's shot, but also like just different writing and performance things as well. And I'm not a Hans Zimmer fan, so I don't like that kind of tone of music for especially like a superhero thing. But again, it's just my preference.
What's funny is like I was champing online for the longest time for Michael Giacchino to like write the music for a new Superman film.
I don't like him either.
And now he's doing the Batman because because like I felt like Giacchino did a good job like plugging into like Jurassic World, kind of picking up where Williams was.
Nope.
So
I'm gonna totally disagree on it.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, he's really I'm a total film score like nerd and junkie, I guess. I don't know. That's like the one area where I definitely have like a lot of opinions.
No, that's fine. Like, who do you like then?
Well, I like. I don't know how to say this without it sounding really negative, but my big problem with Giacchino is that I don't think he can write for an orchestra. So he he writes some interesting melodies, but I don't hear orchestral writing that I really like. And I was a musician for 15 years, like so. And when
what'd you play?
I was a trumpet player, but I'm a big Jerry Goldsmith, John Williams, James Horner. My favorite composer is Elliot Goldenthal. Like, there is a richness in the sound and in the orchestral writing that you can tell when someone really knows what they're doing and how to use the orchestra as an instrument. And one of the big problems I have with Hans's work, and again, I respect it, and I respect Giacchino as well, it's just not my cup of tea, is that there are a couple ways to get a big sound, and I prefer a big sound through counterpoint and melodies playing in harmonies and melodies playing off of a counterpoint counter melody, right? And what Hans does is he gets a big sound by basically having 90 people play the exact same thing. And so
the multiple layered drummers and stuff where
I don't care. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing interesting going on there. Just because it's massive doesn't make it interesting. And in a lot of cases, I actually think it's an overly reductive simplification of what an orchestra can do. and but he's also not an orchestral writer, and Giacchino's not either. And they have arrangers and things like that, but it's just like I can kind of spot and I can hear. It's like, oh man, it's an okay theme, but like if you had somebody who really could build it out. That said, The Incredibles is one of my all-time favorite film scores, and that's Giacchino. But it's Giacchino doing John Barry, you know?
What did you think of John Ottman's reorchestration and new music?
For Superman Returns?
Yeah.
I loved it. And John's not really an orchestral writer either. Like, he writes for orchestra, and I've known John for a long time, actually. John, but when I say he's not an orchestral writer, like John didn't study, and Giacchino didn't either, didn't study like orchestral writing. Like a lot of it is auditory, like a lot of it is on the piano, and then you have arrangers that are coming in and doing your orchestrations and actually making it like, here's how it could kind of work, you know, as an orchestral piece. John, you know, I hear Superman Returns, and they're like, I can hear influences in it. Like I can hear certain James Horner-isms and some Goldsmith, and there's a few other things as well. But yeah, that sequence of the airplane, All Boosters Go, I think is the track title on Superman Returns, is still like one of my all-time favorites. Like, anyway, yeah, I could see now we got on a subject that I could do like 2 hours on.
No, because I actually have like a disc in my car that's just film score music that my kids absolutely love. And my son will request to listen to that, and I'm trying to teach him and listening to. And we were listening to Danny Elfman, because Halloween time. Danny Elfman's theme score for The Wolfman.
Sure,
that he did, and then I was listening to, I cannot pronounce her name, Hildur, who did Joker, and he started talking about how the similarities in the sound of like just the bass volume. And this is a 5-year-old, you know, like he's like, Daddy, that sounds a lot like this. And he's like talking to us like he's musically minded. And so it's just like, it's something that I've got them really into. Like even at night, he likes to have music. So I have all these like movie themed lullabies, and he'll listen to it, and he'll start, and he can pick it out and tell you like, oh, that's he'll be like, that's Harry Potter, or that's Back to the Future. That's Jurassic Park. And he knew the Back to the Future music before he saw the movie. So when we watched the movie, he was like, I already know this music.
Sure.
So
it's a funny one. Batman Forever and Batman and Robin are exceptional film scores. Oh, that's Elliot Goldenthal. And go listen to those, and then listen to Hans Zimmer, and tell me which one sounds bigger. Because Goldenthal with French horns and a full command of what an orchestra can do, and all of the colorations that you can mix in there, it's just it's a much more rich kind of sonic tapestry that you're hearing, because everything is built out across the auditory spectrum, right? He's using all of the instruments kind of to their fullest potential, as opposed to 50 drums, like, which looks cool to a studio exec during the recording session, because you walk in and you're in this huge stage and there's 50 taiko drummers and you're like, oh my God, this is massive, but they're all playing the same thing.
I really do appreciate the score for Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. But okay, Kyle. Oh, I probably should shut up because I could go on forever. So
hey,
no worries.
You got your own podcast. Have Kyle.
Phil might just kill us. We just keep it.
Yeah, you can.
I was like, Phil could just stop. Phil could just stop the recording, and you can just keep talking until you're done.
You can. You're always welcome to come on Krypton Report. We could discuss. I'd love to discuss more about just the scores. Would be fun for Supergirl and Superman, and of course John Ottman's use of everything.
Sorry, this cat is. He is determined.
Cute.
He is determined.
Your cat wants you to wrap it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I better
go.
My cat ran off. She didn't want to say hi this time.
Phil might drive to my house and punch me.
Wow. You're a state away. All right.
I'll go to his house and punch him. You're in Ohio, right, Tyler?
Okay, yeah. All right. Well, yes.
I'll be like,
Thank you, Cal, so much.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we'll have to do this again.
Yeah, it would be my pleasure if I could I'll lock the cat in the bedroom next time.
Oh, poor guy.
I know. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me, guys. And sorry the audio went out for a little while there, and you can blame him. But hopefully most of it was audible.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'd say 99%. Yeah, we're good. All right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Have a good one.
See ya.
You too. Good luck.
Nope. All right. So everything you wanted to know about Kyle Higgins, everyone.
My bad.
His comic work, his taste in music, everything. All right. So let's get out of here. Tyler.
Okay, play us out, Phil.
I was gonna say, Tyler.
Find down Krypton Report.
All right, everyone.
Everywhere.
And if you get hold of us, email us, capesandlunatics@gmail.com. Call the voicemail 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And find all our links at Linktree, linktr.ee/capesandlunatics. And remember the sponsors: Tweaked Audio, Hunt a Killer, Pod Life the book, now digital and paperback, and also a book, Dick Grayson Boy Wonder, put together by that woman right there, even though she's always too shy to say it. All right. And use the link for Southgate Media Group whenever you go on Amazon. Help us support this show, the network, and crazy man Rob Master Doom Southgate.
Make it rain. So says Master Doom.
All right. So, yes.
I like.
You know what you didn't get? Well, I can put it in later, but you know you didn't get.
Diggity dank.
There you go.
I was just gonna say you didn't get diggity dank.
No. All
And
right.
this episode was diggity dank.
That's right. So, and next time, I sent the email to confirm. Hopefully, we hear back. Yeah, Dan Jurgens. Hopefully next week for the Nightwing 75 again.
Yeah, that's the earlier time though, right?
Yes. That's the fourth.
So not same wing time, but same wing channel.
Yes. In 2 weeks, it'll be the same. Yeah.
And I'll be quiet, Phil. I promise.
No, that's fine. You talk first, Alex. All right. So, kind of, sort of, if you're listening on the podcast, same wing time.
Same wing channel.
Nightwing News.